Thank you. I gave a talk recently at a technology conference, and everyone was on a second device. It was totally unnerving. So I know you're about to eat dinner. Please eat your dinner. I won't be offended. Thank you, Janice. It is such a pleasure to be back here. As Janice said, I had an opportunity to work with this organization in its early days, shortly after its inception, but at kind of a magical moment when the people who were involved in this organization had all the passion in the world, but were really wondering how they were going to get their voices heard. And I would say, it's a real honor to be here and to be with all the past Honor Thy Healer nominees, and to be with the people who are being recognized tonight. And in particular, to be here with the folks who have been with this organization for a long time, and the evolution that this group has gone through. And it was interesting, when Janice called me a couple of months ago and said, hey, we'd love for you to come down and talk, it was interesting to me because I had recently been thinking about the organization. I had, as Janice said, I'm at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation up in Seattle. And this is where we usually cue in a weather reference. Now that I have left the Bay Area and I live in Seattle and I see the sun, there it was. So we'll move off the weather reference. But before she had called, I had thoughts of this organization because of an experience that I had had not too far back. At the Gates Foundation, we are working on some big global issues. Bill and Melinda have made their life's commitment now to giving their money away over the idea that everyone, no matter where you're born, should have a chance to live a great, equal, productive life. And so I had the chance. I was in India not too long ago, and we do quite a bit of work in India, and a couple of areas in particular in the north of India, Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. And most of our work is around women's and children's empowerment and different initiatives that will help women and children. And we were going out in Bihar, which is just south of Nepal, and it's very poor, very populous region. And we were going out to look at one of our programs. And it was a great experience in that we wanted to really understand how this initiative was working. And so we drove and drove and drove and drove. And in India, there's such a high density of population that you rarely kind of get to an area where there are no people. And we found that. We were really in a rural area. And as the hours ticked by, we kind of out of the corner of my eye, I saw these bright colors, just a wash of color against a very kind of bleak landscape. And there was this makeshift tent. This tent had been erected out in the middle of nowhere. And as I looked closer, there were a number of women that were out there waiting to greet us with these beautiful colored parasols that they were blocking the sun out from. And so we got out and we joined them, and we went into the tent and to learn more about their experiences. And all of the women came right to the front. They sat with the children in the front, and the men were in the back, which in and of itself was a really powerful message about this program. And the initiative was one where there's some micro-lending, there's some initiatives to help with healthcare, with raising their kids and giving different opportunities. And we wanted to learn more about that. And one by one, the women got up and told the story of this initiative. And there was a woman near the end who you could kind of see as the progression was going, she was just getting more and more nervous. You could tell that the idea of standing up and sharing this story was the last thing she wanted to do. Public speaking was the last thing she wanted to do. We certainly didn't want her to do this if she wasn't comfortable. And as as the group kind of passed it over to her, you could just see the tension in her face, and all of a sudden her community, her sisters, started clapping and urging her on and giving her confidence. And she stood up, and again, the tension, she just wasn't excited about it. And she proceeded to tell us that she had a husband and 2 young children that she couldn't provide for. And obviously that was a very hard story for her to tell. But she said this initiative, this program, gave her access to seeds. She was able to get seeds and plant a crop, and after a period of time, she was able to provide for her children. And that was tremendous, just an amazing thing. But then she had a surplus. And with that surplus, she was able to go into the market near that village and sell that surplus and get some extra money. And obviously that was helping her station and helping her family. Well, at this point, you now start to see she's, her friends and her family and her sisters are all clapping, and she now has all the confidence in the world. She is standing up and she's telling this story. And she said, and then I had enough surplus, I got a bicycle. And she had a bicycle, and she now could go into this market and she could sell it, and she could do all of the things she needed to do. And so we were obviously overwhelmed and just thought it was a tremendous story. And at the end, we said, what's next? What do you want? And she, stands bolt upright and gets this glimmer in her eye, and she said, a motorcycle. And we, of course, had the same reaction where we thought, okay, good for you, and you will likely get that motorcycle. I tell this story, so what that made me think of, and the connection for me, is going back to my early days with this organization, Marin Breast Cancer Watch, then Zero Breast Cancer today, is this notion that when you have questions or you have a community and you have people that are supporting you and you want answers to things and you want a different life or you want a different path, it's out there. And I think back, and it's interesting, I see some of these familiar faces from my early days with the organization. And this was a group of very passionate women and many men as well who came together and said, why? What is going on here? And I was talking to Fern, who is one of the board members here and has been a very active person. And I remembered her before her first media interview. And we were talking, and she's like, I don't know about this. It was an on-camera media interview. And Fern had the same thing happen to her as this woman had in the village, which is about 10 seconds in, Fern owned it. She stood up straight and she said, this is how I feel, and these are the answers that I want. And so I share this because I was very honored to have an experience working with this organization and to see where it's come and to see a group that is now doing research. I mean, not just raising awareness of an issue, but researching the causes of what is happening here in this community. And that's an exciting thing. And you see all of the people here tonight who are supporting it and supporting these honorees who have, in their own way, made a huge contribution to this effort. And that's a pretty exciting thing. And so I would just say that whether it's a village in India or right here in a place like Marin County, when you find your voice, you can absolutely make great things happen, and I think this organization has done just that. So thank you, and enjoy the evening. Thanks.